All right, we are rolling. All right, how's it going, everybody? And I'm not going to sit here very long. I'm going to talk for a few minutes. My name is Mark, and I'm upstairs in the big studio. And of course, I'm looking out the window because there are people walking around. So, what I want to talk about, for those that are new to the channel, once again, my name is Mark. The channel is called Mark Music Place. And I'm going to ask you to subscribe, hit the bell icon so that way it'll let you know when I'm posting videos, as well as write some comments and a nice thumbs up. It all helps the channel. Now, here is what I'm going to talk about real quick is I'm going to literally show you how this is a very, very easy process. But for some people, they may not know. They may know, they may not know. Maybe they don't know. That's the reason why you make these videos, from some people that may be a little confused. Because there are some people that's never used the console or patch bays or racks of gear. They mainly, started with software in their laptop and plugins. So some people never use gear like this. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do is we're going to hook up some gear, and then we're going to pass audio through it, and we're going to show you how you would get audio, and I'm going to show you how in this setup. This ought to give you a general idea of how audio is hooked up in accordance to how it's done. If you ever got a chance to go to a commercial studio where you saw the large console, they have a live room, a control room, all the rack of gear, and you was wondering how are they getting all that gear? How is all that gear working? And getting it to work through the console and all that. Well, I'm going to show you. So we're going to use my setup to show you this. So I'm going to, while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and get Studio One started. And so here we go. Gotta turn the gear on. So it's doing the scan thing, so I gotta turn some gear on. So while I'm turning the gear on, alrighty. Alright. So alright, what we're gonna do is we're gonna hook up some cables, but let me finish turning the rest of the gear on. Alright, quick. Gotta hit a few more switches. And definitely turn the power supply on the console. Alright. We're rocking and rolling. Good to hook. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to put the camera up here a little bit higher. So we're going to use two cables. And because I got a patch bay that has TRS connections on the front, I try to pick as many cables as I can that's going to have at least an XRL balanced on the rear, but have a TRS connection for the front for these particular patch bays. Now, most patch bays, pro level patch bays, are hardwired and soldered, or they're hardwired and soldered, and each wire would come out, and then it would go to the unit that way. But because this is my house and it's in my bonus room, the wires are everywhere because I don't want to run wires through the walls and under the floor and all that. Simply because if I ever leave this house and try to sell it, if you tear up the walls, it's really hard to sell a house with tore up walls. So now, what we're going to do is or did I hook it up? Okay. Actually, I think I already hooked it up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to show you, since I already hooked it up. I should have waited to hook it up, but since I already hooked it up. All right. I think everything's hooked up. Okay. On the back, this is the input. Since your connector looks like that, that's always usually an input on the back of the gear. Okay. The output always has that type of connector for the output. All right. So okay. All right. So that the output, this will be the input, output, right? So what's going to happen is on the back of the patch bay, I'm going to cut this on. Oh, I got to turn the, let me turn the power. Oh, did I plug it up? It's not got plugged up. I got to plug it up. So let me find a spot right quick. And I'm going to put the camera over here. And I'm going to plug this up. Because there's no good if it ain't plugged up, right? Right. Okay. There we go. So now it's plugged up. So the unit is now turned on. As you can see here, the unit is turned on. So now I'm going to show you the connections on the back of the patch bay. Some people have never seen, they always see the front of the patch bay, but they never really seen the back. So what I did, we're coming to the back of the patch bay. Here, this particular patch bay, which is the fourth patch bay down, has all my preamp connections, okay? So these are all my preamp connections right here. And the top row would be the outs up here, and the bottom rows would be the ins. So the input, if you connect a piece of gear into your patch bay, you connect the input of the piece of gear to the input, which would be the bottom row, and then you connect the output of your patch bay to the top row. All right. Now, next, you got to make sure you set up your patch bay. The patch bay has to be set up to make sure that if you're going to do ins and outs to the same unit, make sure that the patch bay is set up to a through type of setup. Don't have it on a normal or half normal, because you're going to create a feedback loop. You want to make sure that the patch bay is set up to be in a through configuration. Some patch bays, like this particular patch bay, the Behringer has a button that you rotate for through, normal, and half normal. And other patch bays like these Notrix, you have to actually literally open it up and rotate the inputs according to this configuration right here to get it set up. So now that the patch bay is so some of y'all probably wonder, well, why would I just want to use a patch bay instead of why not just hook it directly to the unit? Well, what the purpose of having a patch bay is so if you have multiple, and you see I have quite a few preamps and gear, it allows you to switch between the gear without actually literally have to go behind the gear and hooking stuff up and unplugging stuff and plugging stuff and unplugging stuff and plugging stuff. It allows you not to always have to continually to do that. So anyhow, to make a long story short, so the patch bay how they would normally do in the studios, they would run a set of inputs on the patch bay from their live room. And this is my patch panel. It's called a patch panel. Sometimes the panel will be on the wall. to be somewhere in the live room. But because I don't have a live room, I'm using this XLR patch bay as a patch panel. So anything I connect to the patch panel going to the patch bay, so that way I can patch in any preamp I want in the patch bay without having to physically go behind the patch bays or the gear itself. So what I'm going to do is, since I have a microphone, this microphone right here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo this cable right quick for now. I'm going to undo this cable, and I'm going to use the same cable since I already have. All right. And I'm going to drape this cable over. I'm going to drape it over the console for now. We're going to put it there for now. That's just for temporary. So let me set this camera down so I can get the cable untangled. All right. All right. So now I'm gonna put this back up here right quick. So now we're going to, I'm gonna take, that's in one. So we're gonna plug this microphone up, right? All right, the microphone is hooked up. It's actually in patch panel 1, so that's going to the patch, that's coming from live room 1. So now we're gonna patch in, we're actually gonna patch in we're gonna patch in that preamp that we just hooked up. And we're gonna run it from the preamp, and then we're gonna run that from the preamp, and that's gonna go from the preamp to the into the console, from the console into, it's going to go into the console for monitoring. Then the direct out from the console is then going to go into the DAW for as if we're going to record vocals going to that preamp. So what I'm going to do right quick is we're going to come over here. We're going to come over here right quick. And I am going to create a track right quick in Studio One. I'm going to create an audio track. All right, let me hit F3. And okay, so now what I have to do in order to get the preamp going for this microphone that I just plugged up right here on the console, because it's going to the patch panel, which is going to the, I'm going to have to run an output that it's normally normal to go directly into the console, but I'm going to use this preamp. So I'm going to come out here into, I believe it's, make sure. Okay. So we're going to go into input there. So we patched out into input, and I'm going to come out. It's got to go, that's going to go into the console. So I got to come out of the preamp and then into the channel. So now what I want to do is I want to turn the phantom power on, and then I'm gonna turn up some gain, turn up the preamp, make some adjustments. All right. All right. So now I'm going to. All right. Now that I see signal. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk into the mic. Okay. As I'm talking into the mic, you can see here on there I have signal now. You see the signal. You see the light. So I have signal now from the microphone. So that microphone is now coming into the console. You see signal of the console right here. See the signal? So we now bring this up. Okay. I'm not gonna bring it up too much because it's gonna feedback because the mic is so close. The mic is so close to the speakers here. So it's gonna have a little bit of feedback. So I want to do that. I just want to show that I am talking into the microphone. I hope you can hear a little bit of that come from the speakers. Alrighty, so the point is to show you that. The point was to show you that how we got the preamp, how you saw me hook up the preamp into the patch bay. I patched in the cables, so now anything coming from my patch panel going to my patch bay, I can patch to any preamp I want here. Okay. And that way, now that I got it coming to the console for monitoring, I can bring my channel up and all that. So now, as I talk to the mic, I'm going to come over here to the DAW, because I'm using Studio One as an example. I'm going to arm the track. All right. We got the track armed. And that's because here, inputs in 1 or 2, the direct out of the direct out is coming out of the console. It is now going into the input of the interface here. As you can see signal on the interface there. See the signal lights moving as I talk? It's not gonna be very strong because I'm kind of away from the microphone. Now if I was closer to the microphone, as you can see, as I talk, as I get a little bit strong, there, you can see I see a little bit stronger signal. That signal is going to the interface, and that's what's going into the DAW. So when I talk, as you can see here, I can see on the DAW, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. It's hard to do this when you're trying to hold the camera and still talk, but you can see it, there's signal now. So now the DAW is going to see this microphone signal coming from the preamp and coming from the console into the channel. So it's ready to. So that's how that's done. So we are. So I'm going to turn and mute this. All right. So to sum up the video. So basically, all the rack gear that would normally be, all your normal rack gear that you would see in racks in a recording studio are all running to a patch bay. The patch bay then allows you to patch in any piece of gear that you want. Instead of always having to, I don't have to climb behind, I don't have to look behind any piece of gear and plug it up and unplug it, plug it up. All I got to do is select whatever number that piece of gear is on the patch bay, patch it in. That then comes into the console for monitoring. That's how you get zero latency monitoring. Can't talk. That's how you get zero latency monitoring. This is the reason why pro level studios do this. And from there, I know I don't have to, because what happens is whenever you're monitoring through just your interface and you go into your DAW, then you want to monitor, you're going to monitor after the fact. After it's got into and that's why you might get latency issues. But if you're monitoring through a console, what's coming to the console is direct. And that's why it's zero monitoring. So you're going to hear it before it even gets to the DAW. You're going to hear exactly what you're hearing before it even gets into your DAW. This is the ideal way you want to do that. So that's going to sum it up for how you would hook up a piece of gear through a patch bay and run it through the console to get signal to your DAW. And that's how you would do it. Other than that, you just make your adjustments to your preamp, make adjustments to your microphone, place your microphone properly in the room, yada, yada, yada. You get your levels set in your DAW. Other than that, you are ready to go. That's how you do it. And we're going to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, y'all. Have a great one.